I knew something was off the second I saw that guy's face. My name's Nate. I'm 32, from Columbus, Ohio. And this happened at my girlfriend's company banquet last fall. Some 10-year anniversary thing they held at a fancy golf resort just outside the city. She'd been hyping it up for weeks. Open bar, steak dinner, jazz trio in the corner, you'd think it was the Oscars. But I was happy to go. She was excited, and I wanted to show up for her. I wore the only decent suit I owned, gray, tailored just enough to pass. She looked incredible. Tight green dress, heels, hair done. The kind of woman you walk into a room with and everyone notices. We stepped into the banquet hall, and it was exactly what I expected. Corporate money trying to look cool. White tablecloths, glass centerpieces, a bunch of 30 and 40-somethings trying to remember how to have fun without spreadsheets involved. Quick note. Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? Anyway, we made the rounds. She introduced me to her team, a friendly redhead from accounting, some dude with a beard in marketing, even the guy who ran IT, who made some joke about finally meeting the legend. I laughed along, smiled, nodded, did my job. She kept her hand on my arm like she was proud to show me off, and I'll admit that felt good. Then I noticed him. Tall, thick-build, broad shoulders like he still lifted weights every morning. Probably used to be a college athlete, the kind of guy who never quite moved on from that glory. He stood with a small group near the open bar, drink in hand, but his eyes were locked on us. Me specifically, smirking, watching like he knew something I didn't. I leaned down and said, "Who's that guy with the linebacker neck?" She barely glanced. "Oh, that's Connor. He's just a guy from sales." "Just a guy? Huh?" He looked like he wanted to smash my face in. We kept moving, but I could feel his stare the entire time. Didn't talk to anyone. Didn't smile at anything. Just kept looking at us like I'd stolen his parking spot at church. I didn't think much of it. Not yet. But I noticed, and I didn't like the way he was watching her. I headed to the bar to grab her a soda water, no lime, extra ice. She doesn't drink at work functions. Something about keeping her edge. I liked that about her. I was waiting on the bartender when I heard someone step up beside me. Big presence. I turned, and there he was, Connor. Closer now, taller than I realized, maybe 6'3". Navy suit stretching across his chest like he picked it from the high school prom rack yesterday. He didn't smile. "So," he said, no handshake, no intro. "You're the boyfriend." I nodded once. "Yeah, Nate." He didn't offer a name. Just looked me up and down. Slow and obvious. Like he was checking inventory. "What do you do, Nate?" "Logistics manager. I work with distribution fleets." He cut me off with a smirk. "So, trucks and stuff." "Got it." I didn't say anything. The bartender dropped the soda water in front of me, and I grabbed it. He leaned against the bar, acting casual, but it was forced. His voice dropped half a tone. "Just saying, it takes a certain kind of man to keep up with her. You know what I mean?" Before I could respond, my girlfriend walked up next to me. "There you are," she said, smiling quick. "Connor, this is Nate. Nate, this is Connor. From sales." Connor didn't look at her. Still had his eyes on me. "We were just getting acquainted," he said. "I was telling Nate how impressive you are. Strong woman. Real presence." I could feel her shift uncomfortably beside me. "Well, I'm gonna steal my man for a second," she said, reaching for my arm. He raised a hand. "Whoa, easy. Don't rush off. We're just talking." And that's when I saw it, the way he waved her off. Like she was a child tugging on his shirt. Not rude. Worse, dismissive. She hesitated. Caught her eye. I didn't like the look on her face. Connor turned back to me. "Here's the thing, Nate. You seem like a nice guy, but this place, it's full of wolves. You don't send a woman like her into a den without backup. Not if you're serious." I raised an eyebrow. "She's not a child. She can handle herself." He laughed, loud, sharp. Heads turned. Sure, he said. "Just saying, if it were me, I'd be keeping a closer eye. But hey, some guys are fine being decorative." The word hung in the air like a slap. My girlfriend stepped in again. "Connor, stop." He glanced at her, still smirking. "What?" I'm just being real. Nothing wrong with asking questions. I stepped forward, slow and steady. Not aggressive, but close enough that he had to lift his chin a bit to keep eye contact. You done asking? He didn't answer right away. Just studied me like he was trying to decide if I was worth it. Around us, the energy shifted. Conversations quieted. People started tuning in, coworkers, managers, probably the IT guy again. You could feel it, that tension before something breaks. Connor chuckled, but it wasn't friendly anymore. Relax, he said, backing off a half step. I'm just trying to help. That's what we do around here. Look out for each other. Then louder, like he wanted the room to hear. Some of us don't let wolves near our women. He dropped the word women like he owned it. Like she wasn't standing right there. She reached for my hand. I didn't look at her. I looked at him, and I waited, because I knew this wasn't over. I kept my stance steady and my voice low. I trust her, I said. I don't need to mark territory. I'm not insecure. You clearly are. His nostrils flared. I could smell the bourbon on his breath. Cheap, heavy, sour. His smile dropped, replaced with something tighter, meaner. You got a smart mouth, he said. I didn't blink. Yeah, I back it up too. That's when he stepped in real close and shoved me in the chest. Not a playful push. Full weight behind it. Knocked me a half step back, drink sloshing out of the glass still in my hand. My foot caught the edge of the rug, but I didn't fall. I looked at him, and without a second thought, I dropped the cup and moved. Right foot forward inside his stance. Left hand went up to guard, right hand snaked under his arm. I shifted my weight, turned my hips, and used the takedown I learned in Krav Maga over a decade ago. He went down hard. Big man, loud crash. The kind of sound that sucks all the air out of a room. Carpet muffled the thud. But it was enough. The jazz trio froze mid-song. Conversations died. Every head turned. I stepped over him, put the sole of my shoe flat on his chest, leaned slightly, and said loud enough for the people around us to hear, "Protection doesn't brag. It acts." His eyes flicked around the room, looking for backup that wasn't there. I stepped off. He sat up, shaking off the hit like it didn't count, like it didn't sting. Blood was rising in his face. Ego cracked wide open. "You think that makes you tough?" he growled. Then he launched. Came up swinging, shoulder first, wide right hook aimed at my face. Too slow. Too obvious. I ducked, drove an elbow into his ribs, followed with a quick jab to his chin to throw off his balance. He stumbled, tried again. This time I stepped to the side, grabbed the back of his jacket, and slammed him face first into the nearest banquet table. Glass shattered. Plates clattered to the floor. People gasped. Someone shouted, "Hey!" But nobody moved in. He turned, nose bleeding, snarling like a dog, threw another punch, wild, blind. That was his mistake. I stepped in and cracked him clean across the bridge of the nose. One strike, fast, precise, just enough force. It broke. Instantly, he dropped to his knees with a howl, hands over his face, blood pouring between his fingers onto the beige carpet. I stood over him again, heart pounding in my chest, fist still up. I didn't say a word this time. Nobody did. The silence in that room was thick enough to choke on. My girlfriend stepped up beside me. Not behind me, beside me. Her eyes were locked on Connor, jaw clenched, one hand tight around her clutch purse. Connor was wheezing now, bent over, still trying to get up, but his legs weren't working right. Then, finally, someone moved. A middle-aged guy in a staff badge rushed over, probably event security. Another followed close behind him, speaking into a walkie. Neither one touched me. They looked at the blood, then at Connor, then at the people watching. I backed up, hands relaxed. I was done. Connor wasn't. He tried to stand again, muttering something about pressing charges. But it came out garbled through the blood. His face looked like a horror movie. A woman in a navy pantsuit, someone from management, stepped into the circle forming around us and said, loud and clear, "Did anyone see who started it?" And right then, I heard the IT guy from earlier say, "I did. That guy shoved him first. Then another voice. Yeah, I saw it too. A few more nodded. People were pulling out phones. It was over. But Connor didn't know that yet. He just knelt there, broken nose dripping, pride shattered, still staring at me like he thought this could be salvaged. Couldn't. Connor stayed on his knees, breathing through his mouth like a busted animal. Blood soaked the collar of his dress shirt. Security didn't touch me. They stayed in a wide circle around him, like they were afraid he'd lunge again. Then my girlfriend stepped forward. No hesitation. I need everyone to know he started it. He shoved Nate first. I saw it. Her voice was steady, loud enough for the people on the edge of the crowd to hear. A couple others chimed in, confirming what she said. The redhead from accounting. The guy from IT. Even one of the bartenders nodded when someone asked. Security held back after that. Nobody grabbed me. Nobody pulled me aside or told me to wait in a hallway. I just stood there, watching Connor try to breathe through his shattered face. 10 minutes later, EMTs arrived with a stretcher. He refused it at first, too proud, but his knees were giving out and the blood wouldn't stop. Eventually they loaded him up, still trying to talk shit through a face full of gauze. "You'll hear from my lawyer," he muttered at me as they wheeled him out. I didn't flinch. Good. He can confirm the shove, too. One of the paramedics actually snorted at that. When the doors shut behind them, the energy in the room didn't bounce back. The jazz trio didn't start playing again. A few guests left. Most stood around in awkward clumps, pretending to go back to normal conversation but still whispering, stealing glances at me and my girlfriend. That's when her boss, a woman in her 50s, sharp black dress, silver necklace, walked over. "Nate, right?" she asked. "Yeah." She looked me in the eye. Not cold. Not warm either. Measured. "Thanks for staying calm," she said. "We knew he was inappropriate. Just didn't expect this." I didn't respond. I was still wound tight. She nodded once and walked away. But my girlfriend stayed beside me, gripping my hand now like she was holding on to the only solid thing in the room. "I didn't know it would go that far," she said under her breath. "What do you mean?" She looked down, then back at me. Her eyes didn't water, but they were red around the edges. "He cornered me once, couple months ago, in the copy room." I stiffened. My grip tightened without thinking. "He didn't touch me," she said quickly, "but he blocked the door, said some gross stuff, said if we weren't coworkers, he'd test my loyalty. I reported it to HR. Nothing happened." I looked at her. "You didn't tell me." "I didn't want to make it a thing," she said. "I thought it was over." My jaw clenched, but I nodded. I got it. Not the first time companies buried this kind of crap. "And the stuff he said just now, the wolves thing?" I asked. She gave a bitter laugh. "That's how he talks. Says he's alpha. He thinks women should be guarded like property." We stood there, still holding hands, while the staff started cleaning up broken glass and splattered blood like it was just another spill. Someone rolled out a yellow caution sign near the banquet table. Real subtle. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that," I said. She looked at me, finally letting her shoulders drop a little. "I'm not." I turned toward the windows, watching the EMT van's lights flash in the parking lot. My reflection stared back at me in the glass, suit slightly wrinkled, collar pulled crooked. The room behind me was trying to move on. Music started again, softer now, more awkward. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Monday morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table with coffee still in hand when my girlfriend walked in holding her phone like it was a live grenade. "HR wants to meet. Today. Us, not just me." I looked up. "What for?" "They said they reviewed the footage. But there's more." That's all they'd say over the phone. 2 hours later, we were sitting in a glass-walled conference room on the 10th floor of her company's downtown office building. The blinds were down, but I could still hear the office buzz outside. Phones ringing, keyboards tapping, muffled hallway voices. Inside, it was just us and 2 people from HR. Woman in her 30s with a clipboard, guy with wire-rimmed glasses and a tight smile that never fully landed. The woman leaned forward. First, we want to thank both of you for your time. We reviewed all available footage from Friday night. Everything lines up with the witness statements. Mr. Connor physically initiated the altercation. You responded in defense. She looked at me when she said it. No fluff, just facts. I nodded. Good. Then the guy jumped in. That's only part of what we called you about. He pulled out a file folder, opened it, and slid a few printed screenshots across the table. They looked like emails. One of them was a list, full names of women at the company with numbers next to them. 1 to 10 scale. I scanned it. My girlfriend's name was on it. She was rated a 9. What is this? I asked, voice flat. Internal emails, the woman said. He'd been forwarding them to his personal account. Subject lines were disguised, but IT flagged the behavior after the fight. We started digging. More pages came out. Notes about women's outfits, what time they left the building. Comments like, lingers in doorway a lot. Maybe interested. He was tracking them, my girlfriend said quietly. She wasn't asking. The guy with the glasses nodded. We also found saved images in his work folder. Screenshots from security footage. But he had outside photos, 2 pictures taken off company property. Of you, he said, looking at her. Her jaw clenched. Where? Outside your apartment. Coffee shop down the block. Your gym. My fist curled against my thigh under the table. My brain started listing the spots I might have seen him. Grocery runs, weekend walks, random cars parked too long on the street. And no one caught this until now? I asked. The woman looked down at her notes. Some complaints were logged. Mostly verbal. Inappropriate comments. Standing too close. But none of it connected until now. My girlfriend cut in. I filed one. 3 months ago. I said he blocked me in the copy room. The woman looked genuinely surprised. I'll have to check who received that report. I leaned forward. So what's happening to him? The man shut the folder. He's being terminated today. Permanently. We're also forwarding everything to the police. The external photos put this into stalking territory. My girlfriend didn't say anything for a second. Just stared at the table. Then she looked up. I don't want this buried. It won't be, the woman said. We're bringing in a third-party investigator. The legal team's already involved. Good, I said. Because if you didn't take it seriously, I would. They both nodded. We left that meeting with nothing in our hands. No papers, no documents, but everything had shifted. The air outside felt heavier, like the world had finally caught up to what we already knew. My girlfriend walked ahead of me in silence through the parking garage, and for the first time since Friday night, I saw something different in her step. Not fear. Purpose. We hadn't even gotten through the front door when my phone rang. Unknown number, local area code. I answered without thinking. This is Detective Marquez with Columbus PD. Is this Nate Harrison? Yeah. I need to talk to you about Connor Black. I stopped in the middle of the hallway. My girlfriend turned around, reading my face. What about him? We obtained a warrant for his vehicle and residence. Based on the material your girlfriend's employer sent over, plus the witness reports, we executed a search this morning. He didn't pause, didn't soften it. We found over 100 photographs of your girlfriend inside his car. Some were taken at her office, some outside your apartment complex, a few from what looks like the gym parking lot. Multiple angles, multiple days. My throat tightened. You're telling me he was stalking her? Extensively. And it wasn't just her. He went on to explain that they pulled metadata from his phone, geolocation, timestamps. Some photos had been taken at night. A few while she was walking home from the bus stop. Her face was zoomed in. One image had a red circle drawn around her legs. I gripped the phone harder. And there's more, Marquez added. We reviewed his social media history. He's been posting disturbing content. Violent scenarios framed like dark jokes. Captioned things like, some girls just don't get it until it's too late. That sort of tone. Is that enough to press charges? I asked. It's enough to start, he said. We're moving forward with stalking, harassment, and violating workplace safety laws. Depending on how he responds, there may be more. When I hung up, I repeated everything to my girlfriend. Every word. She didn't cry, didn't shake. She clenched her jaw and stared straight ahead. "That's why I kept moving my schedule around," she finally said. "Why I started skipping lunch breaks and using the side exit." I blinked. "You never told me. I didn't want you to worry, and I thought maybe I was overreacting." I didn't say anything. I didn't trust myself to stay calm if I opened my mouth. She sat down at the kitchen counter and just stared at her hands. "I should have pushed harder with HR," she said. "I should have said something sooner." "This isn't on you," I said. "None of it." She looked up, eyes burning. He made me feel crazy, like I had to explain why I was uncomfortable, like I had to prove it. I sat down next to her. "You don't have to prove anything now." Later that week, more women from her company started speaking up. One posted anonymously on the internal message board, said Connor used to block the exit during late meetings. Another said he followed her to her car twice in the garage. A third said he asked what perfume she wore, then showed up at her gym and said it lingered in the air. They all thought they were the only ones. Turns out, every woman in that office had been avoiding him in some way. Changing schedules, skipping meetings, covering for each other. All silent, all scared. That's when it hit me how close it had come. If I hadn't gone to that banquet, if he hadn't shoved me, if that moment hadn't blown up in front of witnesses, he'd still be there, still circling her, watching, planning. It wasn't just a fight. It was exposure. And for the first time, it wasn't just her telling the truth. It was everyone else finally hearing it. That night, she didn't ask me to hold her. She didn't cry. She just sat across from me, cross-legged on the couch, like she was thinking through her whole damn life in real time. Then, without warning, she asked, "How do you handle it when someone cuts you off in a meeting and makes it seem normal?" I looked at her. "You talking about your team?" She nodded. "It's not always obvious, but now that I'm paying attention, I see it. The jokes, the interruptions, the way I have to say something 3 times before it lands." I leaned forward. "You call it out. Straight up. Not rude. Just direct." I wasn't finished speaking. "Try it once. Watch what happens." She smirked. "You make it sound easy. It's not. But it's better than swallowing it." Over the next few days, she started showing up different. Not louder, just clearer. She didn't pad her sentences with maybes. Didn't tilt her head or laugh to soften a point. She started walking into rooms like she had somewhere to be, like she owned the air around her. And people noticed. Co-workers who used to look past her started looping her into conversations. One woman stopped her in the kitchen and said, "Thanks for saying something during that budget meeting. I've wanted to for months." Another one, the redhead from accounting, pulled her aside and told her she finally felt safe enough to speak up about something that had happened last year. Said the whole vibe in the office had shifted. Back at home, we were different too. It wasn't just the sex, though that was better, rawer, more connected. It was everything. The way she reached for me when I walked by. The way we sat close at dinner. No tension, no guessing. Just solid ground. She asked me things now, like how to call out sarcasm when it's meant to cut. How to redirect when someone talks over you. How to stay calm without folding. She'd never asked those kinds of questions before. Not because she didn't care, but because I think part of her never thought she was allowed to. Not in that world. Not in her position. Then one night we were sitting on the back porch, feet up on the railing, stars overhead. She turned to me and said, "I used to think real strength was silence, taking the hit and just moving on." I didn't say anything. She took a sip of her wine and looked me dead in the eye. "Now I know better. Strength is calling it what it is and not backing down." I leaned over and kissed her, quick and solid. "Took you long enough." She grinned. "Yeah, but I'm here now." And she was. Every part of her. No more hiding. No more shrinking. Whatever came next, she was ready. 3 days later, I got the call. Connor's lawyer had requested a mediation session to clear the air before the court date. Apparently, he wanted to resolve things without dragging it through the system. Bullshit. But we agreed. I wanted it on record. Every word, every threat, every mistake. I wanted to look him in the face when he realized how badly he'd already lost. So that Friday morning, I walked into a corporate boardroom downtown. Frosted glass, conference table too long for the number of chairs, bottled water lined up like we were there for a TED Talk. On my side, company legal counsel, one security guy, and an HR rep who looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. Connor sat across the table, his nose still crooked, a bandage barely hiding the mess underneath. His lawyer was next to him, slick suit, zero expression. Connor didn't even look at me at first. He was pretending to be calm, playing the game, the whole let's just work this out posture. The lawyer opened. Mr. Black has expressed regret for how things escalated. He believes this situation can be resolved outside of court. I didn't say anything. Connor finally looked up, smiled. That smug, crooked smile he always had when he thought he was in control. Look, man, I know we got off on the wrong foot. I don't blame you for swinging. I would have done the same if I thought someone was sniffing around my girl. I stayed quiet. Let him keep digging. I mean, hell, she's a 10. You know it. That kind of woman doesn't just get looked at. She gets hunted. I was trying to warn you. I turned to the HR rep. You recording this? She nodded. Everything's being documented. Connor laughed like it was a joke. Then he looked at me dead on. Funny thing about women like her, they like the attention. All that fake discomfort. You think she didn't enjoy it? You really think she never? Stop, I said. My voice didn't rise, but the room shifted. You realize you're violating your restraining order right now? Yeah? I asked. Every word you say gets added to the case. You're not just talking tough anymore. You're tanking your own defense. Connor's grin twitched. And that right there, I added, pointing to the smirk sliding off his face, is the difference between you and me. You run your mouth. I act. That's why you're sitting here with a lawyer, and I'm sitting here with witnesses. His lawyer leaned over, whispered something. Connor pulled his arm away. No, I'm not done. You are, the security guard said, stepping forward. Connor stood, slow, eyes still locked on me. You think you won, he said, voice low. But this isn't over. I tilted my head. It is for you. Security motioned toward the door. Connor finally broke eye contact and walked out, stiff-legged, bleeding pride with every step. His lawyer followed, not even bothering to close the door behind them. I let out a slow breath, stood up, and nodded to the HR rep. Thanks for documenting. That should save the court some time. She didn't smile, just said, he did most of the damage himself. As I walked out of that building, the sun hit hard across the concrete steps. I checked my phone. One missed text from my girlfriend. Let me know when you're done. I want Thai food. Yeah. We were definitely done here. The next morning, I was brushing my teeth when I heard her phone ring in the kitchen. She picked it up on speaker. This is Detective Marquez. Just a quick update. Connor Black was taken into custody this morning. She froze. Toothbrush still in my hand. I walked out of the bathroom. Charges? She asked. Violation of the restraining order. Criminal threats. The mediation yesterday sealed it. His plea deal was withdrawn. He'll be arraigned this afternoon. I gave her a nod from across the room. She didn't smile, didn't cheer, just said, thanks for letting me know, and hung up. Later that week, news trickled down through her company's grapevine. His real estate license got revoked. Apparently, he'd been moonlighting as a broker without telling anyone, using office connections to find leads. The arrest killed his business. Clients bailed. His firm dropped him. Word got around fast, he was done. Meanwhile, she was rising. Her boss called her in 2 days later and offered her a promotion. Project lead on a brand new team. Bigger budget, more authority, real responsibility. It wasn't just a title change. She earned it, and everyone knew it. She came home that night and tossed the offer letter on the counter. I said yes, she told me. Damn right you did. Over the next month, her whole energy at work shifted. She walked in like she owned the floor. People who used to cut her off now waited for her to finish speaking. Her calendar filled with meetings where people actually asked for her input, not just dumped work on her. One Monday, she came home grinning. "You'll like this?" she said, kicking off her shoes. New guy in marketing cracked some sexist joke during lunch. Something about women getting ahead, a different way. I shut it down fast. I raised an eyebrow. "What did you say?" Told him he could either be the guy people laugh with or the guy people file reports about. His choice. And he apologized. Next day he asked if I'd mentor him. I laughed. "That's power." "No," she said. "That's clarity. I know what I bring now." Watching her take back her space, own it, was more satisfying than anything that happened in that boardroom or courtroom. Because this wasn't just about Connor. Not really. It was about all the quiet ways she'd been playing small to survive. And now, she wasn't shrinking for anyone. A year later, we were sitting on the same porch where she first told me what strength really meant. Same chairs, same quiet neighborhood, but everything else had changed. Us especially. We communicated better. Not just the deep stuff, even the small day-to-day things. We didn't guess at each other anymore. If something was off, we said it. If one of us needed something, we asked. That clarity made the trust deeper, the respect stronger. It was real now. Her company changed too. The HR department got gutted and rebuilt. They brought in third-party investigators for harassment claims, hired 2 full-time security officers, even installed panic buttons in the lower level. Nobody joked about it being overkill. Not anymore. And you could feel it in the way people walked through the office now. Straighter backs. Fewer hushed conversations. Women didn't look over their shoulders in the break room. Even the guys changed. One day, I ran into another husband at a weekend event her company hosted. He pulled me aside and said, "What you did, standing up like that, it shifted things. Made the rest of us realize we can't just stay quiet." Turns out, a few of them started asking questions too. Who their wives worked with, whether they felt safe, whether they were being heard. Expectations shifted. Permanently. One night, she curled up next to me on the couch, laid her head on my chest and said, "I always knew you were steady. I just didn't know what that looked like in a crisis." I ran my fingers through her hair and said, "Now you do." She nodded. That was it. Nothing more needed to be said. We don't talk about him anymore. Not really. He faded into the background, like a fire that burned hot and fast, then went cold. Whatever happened to him after the charges stuck, we didn't care. He lost. We moved forward. And in his place, something better took root. She stopped shrinking. I stayed solid. We learned what it meant to truly back each other. Not just in the big moments, but all the little ones after. What grew between us was sharper, smarter, built on honesty and grit. Something we could both lean on. That was the real gift. Not revenge. Not justice. Just clarity. Do you think strength in a relationship shows more in crisis or in the aftermath? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if this story hit home.